Oh, okay. Welcome to the latest Ragic office hour. And I see that we have about 4 questions today, so this should be a fairly quick office hour session. All right, let's get started. Yeah, I was just looking through the questions. I was working on the first one. I'm not all that familiar with Gantt chart report, but it looks, using this is kind of pretty intuitive. So it took me like only a few minutes to figure out. So we have this one of our demo sheets, the service request sheet. So we have like two service request IDs and name of the job, and with a start date and end date. So the question is that when you generate a Gantt chart report from a sheet, so they have task category and task name. So I have added service category for this for the report. So how do I sort the layout of the Gantt report by task category? I try using filters, setting a filter so that sheet sort by task category and start date. But Gantt chart does not obey the sort order in advance. The Gantt chart. So here's the sheet that I was talking about, and this is what I generated. Okay, so to generate this Gantt chart, let me start over again, generating this Gantt chart. So we choose when we're on this sheet, we can just choose Gantt chart, and then we choose start day, end day. Oh, it's already. Oh, it's in the session, so it's already there. So you choose the start day and the end date to specify the beginning and the end of a task that you want to put on the Gantt chart, and choose the time scale. Currently, it's in days. So this is December the 12th, 13th, 14th. So this is the Gantt chart. And I also chose a category. So this is basically answers your question. So you don't really specify the way you sort with a view or something. You just choose a category, and the whole chart will sort by this category, and it will show the jobs from the category type A first, and then the type B jobs, like this. And then you can choose a label to see how you identify this is job A and this is job B. So this is basically how you use the Gantt chart report. And for the sorting, we sort by a field that's specified here. So, and to specify how this is grouped and ordered, then you can do that by choosing a category field and another field for sort by field. So it will first sort by the category that's chosen in the Gantt chart report, and then it's gonna sort by the field that you specify in the sort by field, and whether it's ascending or descending. And also you can choose to display other fields that you might have on your sheet with the show other fields. And there are a few other options that you can use for the Gantt chart report. All right, so basically to answer your question, you can use the category, choose a field category and use the field category to sort them by your category. All right. Category field config to specify the chart. Oh, whoops. How do you spell Gantt chart? G-A-N-T, so there's no G-H. So the Gantt chart is first categorized by the category field and then sorted by the sort field below. Sort field configuration below. All right. Okay, I hope this answers your question. So if you need any follow up to clarify, so feel free to ask again. All right, next. Okay, so this is a follow-up question office hour last time, and you asked which report and what would I like you to improve on. The answer is more control over reports with the use of colors. Line you can change width and colors, and also the font colors. This is not report specific, but reports in general. When you get a report with lots of data, it's sometimes hard to see when the record starts, finishing, or which bits of data belong to which record. Even a faint grid line are hard to see on a report, making reports multiple lines hard to read. Okay, the report, so basically more colors to the report. Okay, well, yeah, I get your idea. So we'll try to put more colors on the report so that to make them easier to read. So, okay. Yeah, so, all right, we'll, we'll, well, if you don't have any like specific reports like which item you would like to us to improve on, it will be a more general recommendation. So I will talk to our design team and see if there are some more color configuration to the reports that we can add to our reports. All right, and thank you for your feedback. Colors configurations, color configurations. To make them easier to read. All right. Okay, thank you for your feedback. Okay, this is a longer one. I want to see Ragic with a full-fledged accounting system with additional features. Okay, yeah, we do have a template for accounting right now. Of course, it's not like really full-fledged. And yeah, that's something we have discussed in the past, and that's definitely something we can do in the future. As I was exploring using the use of Ragic along with my two existing accounting systems for two local entity data in India with aim of digitalization of the entire operation, although lots of issues arise like there would be separate master for accounting and Ragic version issue will remain there. Should be overcome when fully integrated with our two accounting system, Basi and Tally. Okay, so So basically, let me see what's the name of this user. Wow, this is long. Rajesh. Okay, so basically, Rajesh is not asking Ragic to develop a accounting system on Ragic, but it sounds like it's recommending to integrate with other accounting systems. So basically, for system integration, the current trend is to have our SaaS applications support other integration platforms like Zapier, Integromat, or other. There are also quite a few integration platforms that we're looking into, and right now we already finished Zapier integration, and Integromat integration is coming up really soon, like next month. And we're also looking at a few other integration platforms that we can support. So yeah, if we add more support for other types of integration platforms, especially ones that integrates enterprise applications like SAP or other more enterprise application, I believe that it will be really helpful for this type of integration. I'm not sure if Busy and Tally supports these integration platforms, and it will be really helpful if they support integration platforms like Zapier and Integromat, because if they do support that, then Ragic can just support those integration platforms and begin integrating with lots of other enterprise SaaS applications that you might be using. Okay, so and then there's how to create multiple legal entity in multiple locations with different tax number for each location in a single Ragic account. Okay, multiple org. different tax number. Okay. In our case, we have more than one legal entity. However, sales and other team in single. In normal accounting system, each legal entity are created separately and different location within legal entity, like head office, yes, one or more warehouse. One. Okay. So if multiple legal entities are in the same system, basically it's up to you to decide that if you want different legal entities to use the same Ragic account or different Ragic accounts. So if you want them to use different Ragic accounts, then there's not a lot of problem with the implementation. The only problem is integrating these data into one when you want to like generate consolidated accounting reports. And if you put all of these different accounts from different legal entities into one account, and consolidating them wouldn't be a problem. The issue would be not really an issue. The solution to this is basically to add an extra field to each of those sheets that you would like to manage by different legal entities, to specify like this accounting transaction belongs to this legal entity. So it's a rather simple solution it's basically to add a organization ID to each of those sheets that needs to have these organizations separated. And you can use access right setting configurations to separate data so that different people from different organizations can only see data from their own organization. For even more complex database systems like SAP or Oracle ERP NetSuite, this is basically how they do it. So when you look into the tables on these big ERP systems, basically they just have an extra field to specify the org ID of the transaction or the record belongs to. So when you look at the fundamentals, it's still basically just adding a field to specify which organization ID this record is for. So sometimes it sounds complicated and like to support multiple orgs on your application, but basically it just comes down to adding a field to specify which org this record is for on your application, and using access right settings to make sure that people can only assign records to different groups to make sure that the group can only see records from their own legal entity. Okay, so each legal entity are created separately at different location with legal head office and one-on-one plans, with different VAT number or income tax number are created within legal entity as a separate unit or entity for proper accounting purpose. Okay, so yes, you could do that. So each of those like warehouse, head office, if it has a record on Ragic, it will need an org ID, basically a unique org ID to specify which org this record is for. In each case, each transaction needs to be tagged with single entity. Yes, so when you're tagging it with a single entity, so that's the org ID that I'm referring to, with location with a single financial year. Yes. And if you want, you can have a sheet. Basically, what you would do is to have a separate sheet for your organization definition. So it's not gonna be like you add an org field on every sheet. You're gonna create a sheet for your organization. So it will define the organizations you have. And all of this design is under the assumption that you want to keep all of your different legal entity data into one single account, okay? So you're gonna have a sheet to specify which org this has, the legal entities that you have. And when you create a record, you need to use a link and load to load the org information to that sheet. For example, if you have a transaction record, and for different legal entities, it might have different financial year start date. So you could use link and load to load the org ID and load the financial year start date to that sheet at the same time, so that you can use the financial year start date to do different types of calculations on that sheet, so that when you load different financial year start date from different organizations, the calculation could be different because different legal entities have different start dates, financial year start dates. Okay, so if we take 5 Ragic professional account for main function, functional user with supplier and vendor can log in without Ragic account. Yes, vendor can log in because they're external users. External users are free on Ragic. However, how to take care of Ragic user who need to access online Ragic for limited purpose of approval or saying yes or no, or only need to receive periodic notifications like field sales teams and other users only. Okay, so in this case, for internal users, Ragic charges by the number of internal users. So if you purchase named user, no matter how infrequently they access it, you will need to purchase a user for them. If it's an internal user that the user needs to log into the system to do anything on the system, you need to purchase a user for them. But of course, we understand that for large organizations, this might be costly for them. So if you're a large organization with lots of users that might access the database, once in a while. So the best approach is to purchase an unlimited user plan. So basically a concurrent user plan. So for concurrent user plan, you can add unlimited number of users, and we only control the maximum number of users that can be on the system at the same time. So when you purchase an concurrent user license, and it will include 10 users as a minimum. So, so for large organizations that only have a few users that logs in once in a while, you can just purchase the minimum number of users for the unlimited user, the concurrent user version, and then it should be sufficient for the organization, and then you can add as many users as you want, and it doesn't matter if they ever logs into the account or logs in only like once a year. So it doesn't make any difference in the pricing. So if they don't log in a lot, so there's not going to be a lot of users using your account simultaneously. Okay. Okay, and there should be 2 types of user in single Ragic account: main functional user, professional account, and other users are not going to make any reports, but also receive reports from Ragic, SMS, and this makes also cost-effective for Ragic organizations. Alternative, such user may cost $5. Yeah, this is one way to do it. Of course, with pricing, we've discussed a lot internally. Like maybe we could do something like this, but the approach that we're taking is that generally these are large organizations, and it's very hard to have 2 types of users in a single Ragic account. It just, well, we already have 2 types of users, which is a little bit confusing already with the internal users and external users. But if you separate like 3 types of users, like heavy users and light users, they are all internal users, we just believe that this could be a little bit too complex. And we do have a solution for larger organizations if they have a lot of users that are just light users, like logs in once in a while and just use them a little bit. So our solution is like what I mentioned, you should, you can get a concurrent user license, and that would be much more cost effective for the organization. All right, next is for proper accounting, financial year should be there at the accounting year relevant transaction carry forward to next financial year, and prior financial is locked and can be opened by administrator only. Okay, so I assume that you're talking about the accounting template. So right now, yeah, I don't think we have a year-end closing procedure there. So basically the accounting is a template. So a lot of things that you may need to customize and update yourself. Yeah, and of course, making our accounting template more and more complete is something that we do have on our mind that to do. But of course, there are lots of work items that we're working on. So to build a full-fledged accounting system on Ragic is a lot of work, and we tend to try to do integrations with other systems so that Ragic complements, so helps your accounting systems and do the things that it cannot be done on your ERP system, on your accounting system, or your HR system. Ragic works as a complement and add on to the other systems. We try not to replace other systems if other system works well. So we try to integrate with them and complement them. So of course, in the future, if we can, if we have the time and resource to develop a fully fledged accounting system, that would be a great thing to do. But it's a lot of work, and we would like to do the integration first to make it easier for Ragic to integrate with other systems. That would be a more cost-effective way for us to achieve the same goal. Okay, how to create reports on multiple databases, listing multiple listing sheets. So right now the reports, they are only on the same account. We cannot generate reports across different accounts. So yeah, you have to, the data needs to be in the same account for you to generate these kind of reports. And right now, most of our reports generate data from one single sheet. So if you want to generate reports that spans different sheets, different accounts, it's still possible, but it's just not that automated. You could, export your data into Excel spreadsheet and consolidate them on Excel, and then generate them on, any external BI tool like Tableau or Power BI, and use those. You need to kind of merge these data on Excel and then generate the reports externally. So it's a little bit more manual, but right now we just don't really have a good way to automatically generate reports from different accounts or different sheets, because there's a issue of if you have different asset right setting and different configuration on different accounts, or when you have multiple sheets and multiple sheets have different sheet definitions, it's very hard to merge sheets if they have any slight difference in those field definitions. All right, is there limitation on single form sheet for no number of column and rows? No, currently there's no limit for number of columns. I have seen sheets with thousands of columns, thousands of fields, so it's really large. So yeah, it still works. And with a high number of rows, we have people with like tens of millions of rows. Of course, that some operations on these very large sheets will work a bit more slowly, especially like if you're doing search with that needs a table scan, like for text search that is not an exact match. Like when you're doing searches, if you don't have exact match, and you will need to do a full table scan. So that will certainly be slow if you have a very large amount of records. But if you have a lot of data and you just do, searches with options and with exact match, it will still be reasonably fast. Okay. There should be a facility to general ledger account for parameter legal entity-wise or with specific branch or unit with legal entities, summarize or detail with or report without opening balance, with running balance, single or multiple ledger account, or a group of ledger account for single or multiple customers or suppliers. Yeah, you're talking about a fully fledged accounting system. That's something that we like to improve. It's not gonna be like one step. We're gonna one day suddenly have a super full-fledged accounting system. We're gonna improve on our template, day by day, and see if we can have a more complete accounting template. But it's not gonna be like done in one day. And still, Ragic is a no-code tool for digitizing your process. So it's not supposed to have a super full-fledged template for you to be out of the box for you to just start using. All of our templates are free, so it's basically to serve as a starting point for you to do these kind of things. But if you have a lot of very complex business logic, very specific business logic that you want, it's unlikely that it's going to be out of the box from Ragic. Okay, next, can we connect Ragic to our regular accounting system so that all master transactions and opening balances regularly updates in Ragic and regularly update those data for various functions like raising of approval requests, raising SO and PO, and maintenance of masters, and ultimately select data like SO and PO and approval are periodically updated from Ragic to main accounting system. Okay, so this is basically more about integrating Ragic with other like accounting systems. And to summarize, and I think for users, you should not expect Ragic to be a full-fledged ERP system right out of the box, because we're really not ERP system per se. So these are generally templates on Ragic. It's not supposed to be a fully fledged system. No, we're providing those templates for free. So it's usually, if you have very specific these like accounting systems that you would like to use, and it looks like you already have an accounting system. So what we usually suggest users do is to integrate Ragic with them. So if the system supports like Zapier or Integromat, then it will be quite easy to integrate. If the system doesn't support that, we also still have three major ways to integrate Ragic with other external data. So let me review how these three ways to integrate data. So the first one, the easiest one, is to do manual integration. So you could do that both ways. You could export data from Ragic into an Excel file and import it into your accounting system, and you can export file from your accounting system like as an Excel file or CSV file, and you can just import them back into Ragic. So that's the what we call level one. So level one integration is basically non-automatic. It's just manual export and import from Ragic to other external application and from other external application to Ragic. So level one, that's manual. And for level two, it will be more automatic. If you can do that manually, basically you will be able to do that automatically, like on a daily basis, because Ragic has two features that enable this kind of automated integration. So the first one is publish to the web. So for all data on Ragic, we have a publish to the web feature. This one, publish to the web. So for publish to the web, you can basically have a CSV feed URL or Excel feed URL or JSON feed URL as our API. And you can access the data from using these URL from your external application, for example, your accounting application or your integration module with Ragic, so that it can periodically fetch data from Ragic and import it into your external data application, like your accounting system. So to pull data out of Ragic, you can use publish to the web to do that. And to get data back into Ragic from, for example, your accounting system, you can use the periodic import from URL. So if you have periodic import from URL, and it's a lot like doing manual import, but when you set it up once, it's gonna do it automatically, periodically, on a daily basis. So if you have a place where you can generate an Excel output or a CSV output of your source file, like from your accounting system, and you put it in somewhere that can be accessed by HTTP or FTP, and you can put in the URL here, and Ragic will be able to retrieve the data from that URL location periodically, like on a daily basis, and import it import it back into Ragic according to the configuration that you have made on this import your file from URL. So if you click like keep data synchronized from the URL, it's gonna, do a periodic import. Okay, so for the level 2 integrated approach, you can publish to the web to fetch data automatically to your accounting system, or you can periodically output data from your accounting system to a certain URL location as a CSV or Excel file, and import your file from URL, periodic import, and keep them synchronized into a sheet on Ragic. So that's kind of the level 2 integration. And for level 3, it's if you know how to write code. If you know how to write code for all the sheets on Ragic, you can actually read any data or write any data to Ragic from Ragic using API. So, for very simple, you can just try and add question mark API, and it's gonna return your data in a JSON format. So you can basically at any time you can use our HTTP API to retrieve data from Ragic to any other real-time data to your application, and you can post to our HTTP API interface to add or update data to Ragic. So this is if you know how to code. So basically you can use this and RESTful API to update your data or retrieve data from your Ragic application. So basically we have 3 ways to integrate your external applications with Ragic, even if it doesn't support Zapier or Integromat, these integration platforms. So 1, manual integration, 2, automated periodic integration, and 3, real-time integration with API. Okay, so remember there are basically 3 levels or 3 ways where you can integrate external data with Ragic. And this is kind of a frequently asked question, so I'm glad I have a chance to clarify this on our office hour session. All right, so next would be connection. So generate inventory and non-inventory daybook in Ragic, listing all transactions for entity or period, also generate non-every daybook. Okay, yeah, this is also more application specific. So if it's not currently supported on template, I'm sure you will be, if you know how to code, you will be able to write server-side JavaScript workflow to support these things to generate daybook on Ragic, but it's probably just not out of the box from our template yet. So still, I would like to remind you, Ragic is a no-code tool to build these kind of things, and no-code, low-code tool. So a lot of these accounting features is just not really gonna come out of the box. Okay, so and whether Ragic is capable of handling 500K records or 1 million transactions efficiently without speed issues. So basically we have quite a few accounts with sheets with 500K or 1 million records. So there's no major speed issue there, but like I mentioned, if you do things that requires a table scan, like these non-exact matches or some report generation that requires each and every single data records to be read, it's gonna take some time. So I'm not gonna say that anything you do with 1 million records is gonna be lightning fast. It's just not practical, but we do most of the stuff that's technically possible to speed up operation to make Ragic work with lots of data, and at least it's gonna be a lot better than having them on non-optimized applications or Excel files. All right. And okay, next, drill down from reports to last entry or transaction possible. Similarly, in listing form, it should be possible to add additional fields and do calculation in bulk and or selective filter transactions. Do calculations in bulk. I'm assuming you're talking about formula calculations, and in design mode, you will be able to execute formula recalculates in bulk. Further, one should be able to add in reports in listing page. Yeah, we just added, this is just new, so you can add reports on the listing page now. Let me just show you. This is new feature like we just added like last week. So you could like add a widget like this. And for a widget like this, you can add to the listing page. Like you can just move it anywhere you want and resize it, and you can decide which source data sheet and how this widget would display your data. So let me just do a quick, really simple one for you to, like we can show a total, show a trend, and categorize by category, show change from previous period. Okay, yeah, let's see how this widget work on the listing page. So it's gonna look like something like this, but of course I think the date's wrong. So if I choose max, you should see some data. So there should be some data because there's just 2 records, so the widget doesn't look as right. But we do have this type of widget that can help you generate some kind of reports on the listing page. We just added this feature like last week. Yeah, I think this is a very cool feature that will come very useful for a lot of users in the future. Let me just put it here. Okay. Yeah, so there are 2 records like this: type A 50%, type B 50%. Yeah, and just one. There's only one date. And yes, and yeah, we definitely looked at Excel and see if there's something that you can do on Excel, and maybe our charts can work more like on Excel. And this kind of widget, when you use it, when you do like a filter, or maybe like you want to say job A, and the report will be able to reflect. Where's the report? Will be able to reflect the filter that you have currently. All right? Okay. Yeah, this is a lot of questions, and I'm not really gonna repeat the answers in writing here. So if you're interested in this, just please refer to the recording of the webinar. Refer to the webinar recording for answers. Yeah, because this is a really long question, so I'm not gonna repeat everything. But I do appreciate very detailed questions, and it's a good chance where we can communicate with our users and to explain a lot of things. Yeah, and thank you for your question, Rajesh. All right, next, would it be possible to back up and restore a single sheet instead of the whole database? Yeah, we get this question quite a bit. In Ragic, you can download a backup database as a whole and restore it to another database. Would it be possible to do so with just one sheet in the future? That would be great, since I can then design some sheets on my database and install restore on my client's database once I've completed the design of the sheets. This is definitely something that we have in mind, but the theoretic, for most part, it's not that difficult to, it's not that difficult to like copy one sheet to another sheet. But the question is, Ragic does a lot of data relations. So when you have data on one sheet, and it's very likely that this sheet has data linked to another sheet, and the record linked to another sheet links to another sheet. So it just all the data just links to each other. In a lot of cases, when you try to copy only one sheet, it's either that you'll be copying basically a whole account because like all the sheets are linked together, or lots of sheets are linked together, or it's gonna have a lot of missing links. because if you only move migrate data from one sheet to another account, it's gonna have a lot of missing data. Like when it's referring to data on another sheet, it's gonna come up empty because you haven't moved data from that sheet. So that will be a problem. That's the biggest problem that we face when designing a way to restore a single sheet from one account to another. This is basically why we don't have that, because the linking relations are just really complex, and it's very hard for us to have a way for us to be fully confident that to be able to move a part of your database to another account. Right now it's just kind of difficult. And but on your question, you do mention that you want to design some sheets on your database and install and restore on your client's database. So that is something that's a little bit different, because what I described is that the main problem with this is the data. So when you're copying your data from one account to another, all these data might be interrelated. Data on different sheets might be interrelated. But if you're only copying sheet definitions, and this problem is less serious. So if you copy data sheet definitions from one account to another, and you still might have some missing links. Like if you copy sheet A and sheet B to another account, but they all link to sheet C, but you didn't copy sheet C, and you will have sheet A and sheet B still be working, but just all the links to sheet C might not work because there's no sheet. You didn't copy sheet C. This could be avoided by designing to making sure that you copy a full set of sheets, on your when you're designing those templates to install on another sheet. So to summarize, we are considering adding some features for users to apply for accounts that you can create templates like our templates for other users to install. So we are working on something like that for users to make their own applications installable on other accounts. But those accounts will be like special accounts that you would need to apply for. We're not ready to have like you install to have those install from any account to any account, because for these kind of application stores, we believe that you should have a very standard version for other people to install, not something that you're still using every day and using it as a template source for other people to install. All right? Okay. So we are working on special template accounts that users can apply for. With template accounts, users will be able to create Ragic applications installable like our standard templates to other accounts. Yeah, this is something that we're working on, and I do hope like maybe in a few months I can introduce this feature and some place where you can apply for this kind of account. Yeah. But for data, it's just going to be a little bit more complex. From any account to any account. But if you have some like test data on these kind of template accounts, you should be able to copy them to the customer's account like our templates. All right. Okay. Yeah, we don't have a lot of questions today, but there are there are hidden a lot of sub questions in one single question. So took a while to answer, but I do believe that this kind of communication could be really helpful for our team with our users. And yeah, and we do really appreciate the questions and the feedback. And thank you for joining in on our latest Ragic Office Hour session. I I guess I'll talk to you guys again in 2 weeks. Yeah, and thank you for tuning in or listening to our recording. Thank you and goodbye.